Hey guys, it's MrPokke here, back with another video, and today we are gonna be talking about Jiyan's CN unit analysis, our first limited banner, and I don't believe there is a much better time talking about this because in literally 4 days we are gonna be getting Yingling, right? So if you guys are thinking about putting him, hopefully you guys will make use of this guy and in order to play him to the best of his abilities, right? So without further ado, let's get into today's content.
Subscribe!
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Jiyan, a very handsome man. I must say, this is probably the best looking gacha male character I've seen in a long ass time. We're first gonna be talking about his kit, his best in slot weapons, his echoes, his tracers, his teammates, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about his rotation and the kind of stuff, right? So, what exactly is Jiyan meant for? Jiyan, he excels in this low-key pseudo long-range attack, which has AoE grouping abilities, dealing with mobs at a much more comfortable pace compared to a lot of our other main DPS. In fact, he is our only main DPS right now that has the grouping ability after casting his Resonance Liberation. He also does have a really high ceiling because you can use a lot of mechanics to kind of improve his damage output, similar to how you can do it with Calchero, with Encore, with Ling Yang, with pretty much any DPS you can think of in this game. There are a lot of ways that you can increase a DPS output. But for Jiyan specifically, even if you don't use these mechanics to increase output, like animation cancel or whatever kind of stuff, his baseline's damage floor is already very high. He has been dubbed as the fun button of Wuthering Waves because you can quite literally just press and hold his basic attack during ultimate and he will just kill everything. If you guys have not tried it in Simulated Universe, or rather the Elusive Realm, go ahead and try him. He's very friendly for the players to just make use of and deal as much damage as humanly possible, right? Jumping into his kit layout. So Jiyan, his basic attack is just a very simple swipe. Alright, 2 is a 2 swipe. So there's only one individual hit. Unlike Calchero, where if you were to do one basic, it is 2 jabs. For Jiyan, it's gonna be one swipe, right? 1, 2. This is gonna be his tree. So his tree shoots out a little boomerang, and in this you can animation cancel. 1, 2, 3. You can see that you can summon another character on field to squeeze out a little bit of DPS, right? If you do it fast enough, you will still continue your attack animation chain. So let me see if I'm a little bit laggy, right? I'm a little bit old fingers, right? I'm not really exactly insanely good at this game, but let me see if I can do it. Okay, do you guys see that? Do you guys catch that? Okay, tell me you guys caught it. So my attack animation chain was not broken. I continue on to my next couple of auto animation. You need to do it fast enough because there is an inherent cooldown for swapping characters. So you can't do it too slow. Basically, you want to begin switching before he even casts this, so that the moment you switch back, you can continue his attack animation chain, which is gonna be this one, right? For your 3, you can animation cancel. And for your 5, it can also be animation cancelled. But for 5, it's a lot easier. So if you do it in the 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you can see 5 is a lot easier to swap out. Honestly, it is really just to like absolutely min-max the shit out of it, but it is not super important. His skill is very straightforward. It is basically a dash attack. Nothing much to be said. Decent multipliers, 240%, but yeah, basically a little dash, you can cast it in the air, cast it in the ground, very straightforward. Then his forte circuit is gonna be resolved. I think I mentioned in the pooling opinion as well. You can stack up this little green bar, and upon this green bars up to 1 stack, you can enhance your next skill / ultimate. So right now, I'm gonna be dealing more damage by using the green bar, right? Basically just do a little bit more damage. You can also enhance your ultimate. So his ultimate is basically, you do 1 instance of damage instantly, and you enter into ultimate state where you press a fun button and he'll just do whatever he's doing. You don't have to do anything, you literally just press and hold and he will just clear everything for you during this ultimate stage. Specifically, during his ultimate stage, the maximum attack animation is gonna be 7 full combos. So let me kind of break it down a little bit more in depth. What is the sequence in his enhanced ultimate state? So every single full combo in his attack animation chain is gonna be 4 different hits. But in ultimate duration, you can only hit up to 7. So this is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So you are not quite enough to get off your 4th strike. It's basically 1, 2, 3, 4 and a 1, 2, 3. That is gonna be his full chain during his ultimate. Unless you are experiencing some sort of attack speed buff, then you might have enough time to squeeze in the 4th hit. But otherwise, you can only squeeze in 7 hits usually. That is basically his kit. The major trace: 10% attack for 15 seconds upon an intro skill, and a 12% crit damage for 8 seconds every single time you hit a target. Note that for your heavenly balance, it is only after your intro skill. So it is very, very important for Jiyan to cast his intro skill, which means that you want your previous unit ideally modify to get the concerto energy to full. Otherwise, you will not gain this benefit, nor will you gain this additional benefit of the intro skill off in order to get the 30 resolve, which will allow you to instantly cast your ultimate. If you do not have your intro skill, it means that when you swap into Jiyan, he will start off with 0 resolve. And that is going to be a pretty important rotation when you are placing against Tower of Adversity. So you always want to try to get that intro skill off with Jiyan. His outro skill lastly is going to be Discipline. Launch a coordinated attack up to 2 times. Just a little bit of a extra damage, but note that the multiplier is actually really, really high. 300% multiplier for an outro skill up to 2 times. So when you're pairing this with Modify, or with like any heavy attack like Arena, then you can trigger this off. But note that it is only with a heavy attack, right? You need to cast a heavy attack in order to cast this 300% multiplier for Jiyan's Ultra Shield. Yeah, so this is the difference between the normal ultimate and the enhanced ultimate. Basically, you get this one additional hit, which deals quite a significant amount of damage to the AoE target. And the multiplier is honestly very, very decent. But if you do not have this enhanced ultimate, you just straight away jump into the enhanced state and still do the normal things as you would normally do, right? Very, very good multiplier, so it is in your best interest to kind of do this. Key mechanic. After Resonance Liberation, every single kit of Jiyan's damage output is gonna be considered as heavy attack. Specifically, the basic attack animation. So, like I showed you guys just now, all of the hits where your 7 basic attack chain within the ultimate state, they will all be considered as heavy attack damage. So this will pretty much tell you when it comes to team building, when it comes to your echoes, when it comes to your weapons, heavy attacks are gonna be majority, if not almost all of Jiyan's damage distribution. In fact, if you can take a look at this graph right here, I believe it is somewhere here, heavy attacks, they constitute up to 90% of Jiyan's total damage output. Which means to say your other bonuses like your liberation bonus, your base attack bonus, and your skill bonus, it is very, very little compared to the amount of percentage your heavy attack is going to be taking up for your Jiyan's damage output, right? Very, very important. Jumping into the recommended set for Jiyan is going to be 4-3-3-1-1 running the 5-piece win set, right? Not much to be said about here. Pretty much just run the right element against the right unit. Although for Jiyan, you can't really run a 4-4-1-1-1 because for the win set specifically, there are no other echoes in the Sierra Gale in the 4-cost other than Monkey, right? The Monkey is the only 4-cost within this. So if you were to run 2 Monkeys, you will break the 5-piece effect, which is really, really not good, right? You do want to try to get this 5-piece because it's 30% arrow damage, right? So quite important to mix up this 5-piece as much as you can. But if you do not have the ability to cook up a good enough crit ratio, then honestly it doesn't really matter what set you're running. You could run like a 4-4 because, you know, 4 costs, really good crit ratio just to bump it up a little bit, or you could just run 2+2. It doesn't really matter at that point. So if you can't fulfill 4-3-3-1-1, then running any sort of rainbow sets to bring up Jiyan's crit ratio will be your ideal scenario, right? So that's gonna be that. This is gonna be quite interesting because I didn't even know about this, right? Previously, I always believed that for your 3 costs, if you are running, for example, the wind set, you will always want to run arrow damage. If you're running the electro set, you will always want to run electro damage. So it turns out that your attack percentage and your elemental damage, as well as all these like basic attack damage, heavy attack damage, liberation damage, and skill damage, they are all belonging to the same multiplier. Which means to say, they are fundamentally gonna be taking up in the same equation. So whichever stat you have more of, then you will receive diminishing returns where you could be running on the separate stat. You know what I'm saying? So for Jiyan, if you are running a S1 signature weapon at E0, E1, and E4, your best and slot main stats will be 1 attack percentage and 1 arrow damage. But if you are E2, E3, E5, and E6, then it will be better for 2 arrow damage. I didn't even know about this until today, but these are gonna be based on their calculations, so this is gonna be what is recommended. I believe the main reason is just because, specifically for his S1, he does gain a lot of additional damage percentage, which can kind of reduce the amount of, or rather, that you can benefit more from more attack buffs. Because now you can gain an even higher returns if you were to use attack over arrow damage boost. So I think this is going to be the rationale. That's pretty much it. So TLDR, E0, E1, E4, 1 attack, 1 win is going to be perfectly fine. But this is also assuming that you are running the exact same substats. So at the end of the day, substats are king. If your attack percentage have better substats than your win damage, you run attack. If your win damage have like god tier crit substats over attack, then just run win, right? Whichever subset win, you can just run. So it opens up the option for players to kind of try out and try their luck, see which main stat can provide you the crit rate, crit damage double, right? Subset distribution, very straightforward. Crit stat, crit damage over attack percentage over heavy attack over flat attack over resonance liberation, right? Because Jiyan's ultimate liberation multiplier is also very, very high. So that's gonna be it. Alternatives, if you do not have his signature weapon, it's gonna be the standard weapon, the battle pass weapon, as well as one of the gacha weapon, right? So the difference is going to be as follows. If you have a signature weapon, it's going to be a base stat of 100%. At the Autumn Trace at S5 will be roughly 84.4% compared to the signature weapon, which actually outperforms the standard weapon at S1. That being said, Autumn Trace is a battle pass weapon, so it is not exactly free-to-play friendly, if I can say so myself, right? Take it as you will. At S5, it's going to be slightly higher than our standard weapon. And then lastly, it's going to be Donglu at 71.3%, which is going to be, I believe Donglu is Helios Cleaver. Yeah, Donglu is your Helios Cleaver. So, this is gonna be the forged weapon that you can get from the craftables. It's gonna be at 64.8%. I think from this distribution, which kind of ties back to the point of should you pull for Jiyan's signature weapon or should you pull for the standard weapon, especially if you're gonna be using both Calchero and Jiyan together, right? By opportunity cost, I'm not sure if you guys remember, Calchero, his multiplier without the standard weapon, i.e. to say if you use Jiyan's signature weapon, he only falls off by like roughly 10%. Whereas for Jiyan, it falls off by like 20%, because I believe this is a better pass, right? So you're literally falling off by 20% if you're running the standard weapon on Jiyan. Take it as you will. If you're not using Calchero, then definitely go for the signature weapon. If you're using Calchero, both of them, then I believe the signature weapon does give you a better opportunity cost since you do only lose out a little bit compared to pulling for standard weapon and giving it to Jiyan, right? So that's going to be that for the weapon distribution. Going into this, they recommend that since you are never going to be losing your 50-50s in the weapon banner, E0S1 is going to be having much more value than E1S0. Right, because E1 you can literally fail the 50-50 and the guaranteed progression for the S1 is also very, very nice to have. So that's going to be that. So Eidolon 1, you get to use your skill 1 additional time and you use only 15 resolve instead of 30 resolve. Not exactly a Eidolon that increases your overall damage. It basically makes your rotation feel a little bit smoother. So the additional skill, you can also increase your concealed energy as well as increase your resonance energy. So it just makes your overall quality of life and rotations for Jiyan feel more comfortable. So not really a direct energy output, but it just makes your life more confused. So Resonance 2 is going to be 28% damage buff for 15 seconds. And it triggers once every 15 seconds. So basically, if your rotations are good enough, you will pretty much gain full resolve. You will gain the full 60 resolve at E2, as well as a 28% attack buff following the intro skill. So the exact increase in damage for E2 is gonna be between 12 to 14% final damage increase. So this E2 is honestly really, really decent, especially when considering the fact that you literally start with 60 resolve upon an intro skill, right? So E3 is very, very, very good. So E3 for Jiyan, like I said, this in Wuthering Waves, so E3, they're not just plus levels, right? E3 and E5, they actually change a lot of the kits. So for Jiyan's E3, your crit rate and crit damage increased by 16% and 2% respectively. This is a 64% crit value increase, which is absolutely insane. So it is a very, very big crit value buff if you unlock his E3. So the final multiplier for Jiyan's increment for his E3 is going to be at roughly 21 to 25% final damage increase, because it is 64 crit value. Think about it this way: in the Honkai Star Rail, your E1s and E2s usually is like 30-ish crit value. This thing is like 64% crit value. So very, very good increase of your final damage output. Then going into your Eidolon 4, which is going to be increasing your heavy attack damage bonus for all team members by 25% for 30 seconds. That being said, because Jiyan, he is typically going to be functioning as the main DPS, and your sub DPS is probably going to be MrPokke, and your support is probably going to be Verena. This team-wide heavy attack damage bonus might not be as insane compared to your E3, which is going to be a 64% crit value buff, right? So the final damage increase for this Eidolon 4, or rather Resonance Chase. Okay, I need to say Resonance Chase. Oh, because the 25% heavy damage bonus, it kind of scales off rather diminishing returns, because if you're going to be running this with MrPokke as well as the rest of his tracers, this 25% heavy damage bonus is going to be getting a little bit of a diminishing return, right? So the final increase is only at 10 to 11% for our entire team. So Eidolon 4 is honestly not that insane of a value. All right, so that's going to be that. Then going into Eidolon 5, increase your attack by up to 45%. Damage multiplier of Ultra Skill also increased by 120%. So Ultra Skill is roughly dealing probably like 400% over Ultra Multiplier, right? This effect is immediately maxed after he casts Intro Skill. So how much exactly is a 45% attack buff for Jiyan? So this amount is gonna be translating to a roughly 20% final damage increase for a 45% attack buff. Also, the reason why if you're getting his E4 and E5, especially the E5, you don't really want the attack percentage main stat for a 3 cost anymore. You do want more arrow damage buff, right? So you can improve the overall distribution a little bit higher, right? So that's up to your consideration. Then finally, E6 changes everything. E6 is a multiplicative increase of 120%. This is the absolute highest damage increase for Jiyan. Any sort of multiplicative damage increase, you can consider as like blood is critting on a crit. It is the simplest way to put it. The final damage increase for this E6 is gonna be at, you do need to stack it to two times though, right? At max stacks, no stacks, 1 stack, 2 stacks, 132.3% damage increase compared to your E0, right? Compared to your E0. So absolutely insane Eidolon. Pretty much one of the highest in the entire game, right? So if you guys are considering or getting a whale, E6 and the comment just break the game, right? And then we're gonna be talking about his team compositions before we talk about a little bit more of the in-depth rotations, right? His team overall, you want to make it to have a fast concerto energy to swap in and out for your intro and outro skills very quickly, as well as buffing up your heavy damage bonus. And there's no other teammate for Jiyan other than MrPokke. Pretty much best in slot 2. No other sub DPS even comes close to what MrPokke have to offer, and he is literally in Jiyan's banner. And then for our support, it is definitely going to be Verena as the best in slot. And everybody has gotten the standard selector, then TLDR, you can quite literally perform Jiyan's best in slot team in day 1. It is just that easy, right? Best in slot team comp is gonna be as follows. That's gonna be that. And then if you do not have MrPokke, like if you're really unlucky, you just did not get a MrPokke, Sanhua is honestly a very decent substitute, because not really because of the basic attack buff, alright, because Jiyan doesn't really care about the basic attack, but it is more so because Sanhua herself, she has extremely fast energy regeneration for the ultimate, very, very low energy cost, as well as the fact that she can charge up her intro outro skill very, very quickly. 1 heavy attack, 1 skill, 1 ultimate, 1 heavy attack, boom, intro skill, outro skill, done, right? So because her rotation is so quick, she can be slotted into pretty much every single team comp, even if he doesn't really exactly benefit from the basic attack buff, right? So just an overall excellent energy battery, excellent energy cycler. So very, very good. If you want to consider auto, you can, but he is honestly a worse substitute for both MrPokke and Sanhua, because his bar fills up very, very slowly. You're gonna have a slower rotation with auto despite the amount of buffs that he's gonna be providing to Jiyan, right? So the name of the game of Jiyan is always as fast of an intro outro skill rotation as possible. Since Sanhua is literally given to everyone for free, there is pretty much no other reason to use this, unless you want to use Sanhua for your second team, then that's gonna be that, right? So finally, we are gonna come to our conclusive topic which is gonna be the rotations, right? Okay, wait. This is a little bit fun to do. For Jiyan, he can jump really, really high because upon pressing on heavy, he jumps up. So this is a little bit of a cool to know. So if you want to do some aerial combat, you can do something like a heavy, jump up, plunge, and you can go like super, super high. So for example, you can do something like a heavy, jump up, dash, plunge. Okay, let me lock in and get a combo for you guys.
2 hours.
Wait. Oh! Yep! I did it! First try, baby! Alright, so there's an example of how fast you can jump up with Jiyan using the dodge, the hit, and all that. So that was like, we basically reached the top of this pole, right? Very, very nice for aerial combat, and you can just do some very, very cool things. Insane. A little bit of a tip when it comes to your rotations with Jiyan. As of the current version of the game, you will lose your buffs when you swap up. So that's to say, if you were to do a Mortefi, you have your outro skill. You swap to Jiyan, but if you want to do an animation cancel, you will lose Mortefi's heavy attack damage deepen. On top of that, you will also lose your monkey's arrow damage increase and heavy attack damage increase. On top of that, your arrow gale, I believe, it will also be lost. On top of that, this intro skill tactical strike, it will also be lost. So take that into your consideration if you are gonna be using your buffs. So before all these are active, you can in fact swap their rotations a little bit. So I'm just gonna demonstrate the rotations shown by the CM player base here. So this is the problem with using Monkey with Jiyan. You really want Monkey's heavy attack bonus as well as arrow damage bonus, right? But there's a problem, which is if you were to swap into Jiyan's intro skill, you're in the air. And when you're in the air, you cannot proc your Monkey until he falls down. So there's a little bit of a delay when you activate intro skill into Monkey. Because at the air, you can't proc Monkey, right? So that's gonna be one issue, Cat. But if we were to wait for Jiyan to hit the ground, and then use our Monkey, it's very slow with regards to the animations. And you will lose the heavy attack buff because, like we mentioned previously, like Sweetie brought it up, right? You will lose all the buffs when you swap out into another outro. So if you were to use Monkey and animation cancel, you will lose out this heavy attack damage deepen. So it is not good to do this as well. You will also lose out this Echo 5P set, right? So all this arrow damage move from the intro, it will also be lost. And the tracers, it is also lost. All these buffs, when you swap out with Monkey at the ground, you'll lose all these buffs upon swapping. So it is a little bit unfortunate. So how exactly do we use our Monkey? How exactly do we swap out with Jiyan so that we don't lose all of our buffs? An example, when it comes to the rotation, if you were to use a skill animation cancel and you swap into a second unit, it will still finish up the animation. So for Monkey, you can see that he's gonna be able to jump up and slam down. But during this time, we can still swap within this. Because before we hit our last hit, if we swap at this timing, we don't lose the buffs. You know what I'm saying? So before this thing lands, if we were to swap out, we can then gain back our buffs. So you can see, we use Mortefi, but Monkey is in the air right now. So we swap to Mortefi, yeah? And then, if we were to swap back into Jiyan, this will allow him to maintain it. So, TLDR, we use our Resonance skill into our Echo attack, instantly swap into our allies, and upon our allies bar filling up, we swap back into Jiyan. So this is where we don't have our intro outro skill yet, because we don't want to lose our intro outro skill buffs, right? So only when we get our intro outro skill, then by the time we swap back into Jiyan, he will obtain the buffs all together. So at this point is the junction where we will activate our ultimate and combine all of our buffs from all of our teammates and the Monkey and all everything, right? Pretty much everything. There's gonna be an example. I'm a little bit afraid this is gonna be a little bit complex because what essentially happening here is when you are in the ultimate animation and use a skill, you can in fact swap into a different teammate and swap back in to continue the ultimate chain. So every single time Jiyan swings up his sword, there's this brief moment where you can swap out into a different unit and you swap back in to continue his next chain of attack animation. Remember what I said at the start? Jiyan's ultimate, during ultimate, the attack chain is 4 attacks. It's 4 plus 3, because he's not fast enough to do the 4th one, right? So in between each attack animation, you can always swap back out, swap back in, and he will continue on his attack animation buff. And at this point, you have already been benefited with the intro and outro skill because you're not consuming up any new intro and outro. Only when Jiyan do not have this buff, then you should use this swapping out mechanic. So by the end of like 14 seconds, if there's no effects like heavy damage bonus or all type damage bonus, swapping in and out will not result in a total damage loss. But at this point where if you still have more Mortefi's heavy damage bonus, then you shouldn't swap out. So if you want to min-max at a time where there's no buffs, you can. But if you already have the buffs, then you just do Jiyan and just press the fun button and can enjoy yourselves. Oh, this is quite good. So between your ultimate animations, you can dodge. So I'm not sure you guys can see over here. Every single attack on your ultimate animations, you can dodge to reposition yourself and then attack again. So it allows Jiyan to kind of move to where you kind of want him to be. A little bit more to the left, a little bit more to the right. So in case there's like a one enemy here that you didn't really manage to group up, you can dodge and resume attack animation to just keep them lumped up at where you want, right? So every single, you can see that this Jiyan, every single attack, he's dodging. But the dragons, they're still continuing. So this does help a little bit of a positioning issue if you're going to be facing when you don't really group all of them up together, right? So that's going to be another trick. With that, we have come to the end of our Jiyan CN unit analysis. If you want to engage in any further discussion, tell them to the comments below or drop it on Discord. This is all G for the Pokke very active on the Honkai. Sorry, anybody reads on the DPS machine. That's you. So that's all I have today. All the best for Jiyan pools, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Chat, I'm gonna keep it a buck. I play Jiyan so I can press this and have to win the game. Like me personally, I'm not gonna give a damn about the this, swap out and all that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna play this game chill and not min-max with Jiyan.